I'm obsessed with my nail color today, guys. I feel like this is, you know, like Disney Ocean. And in case anyone is wondering, this is by OPI, and it is the Do You See S-E-A What I S-E-A. Get it? Do you see what I see? Fun. I need to meet the people who come up with all of these great nail polish color names because they are awesome and I feel like they would be really fun to talk to, right? Hello everyone! I'm here today to share with you guys a video that I've wanted to do for a while and I've sort of been collecting ideas for it. And what actually started it off was I was watching a video by Kathleen Lights and she was talking about one particular highlight that I had also purchased and I was like, oh, this doesn't work, I hate it, boo. And what she had said is, oh, you just scrape off the top layer and then this is the most amazing highlight. And that got me thinking, like, how many times have we purchased makeup that doesn't work really well for us and we're disappointed in, like spending our money on it and we can't return it? How can we make them work? And I thought the best way to do it would be to kind of split my face down the middle and show you guys on one side of the face how it's not working, and then on the other side of the face show how it can work for you. So hopefully you guys find this helpful. If you have ever made any bad makeup purchases, I know I have, and I chose all products that are all drugstore based so that if you did go out and buy something that didn't work well for you, these are all affordable options to kind of help make them better. Hopefully they work well for you. Give this video a thumbs up if it is helpful and subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And without further ado, let's get into this. So starting with eyeshadow, sometimes we buy products that don't swatch really well, they don't show up well in the eyes, and there are a couple of different reasons why. So one thing being you may be using the wrong type of brush. For example, in this case, I'm using a flat synthetic brush, which isn't picking up the pigment very well. I don't have any sort of primer down on my eyes. What you can do that'll make a difference is apply a primer first. So the one that I'm using is by Essence. I like it because it has a little bit of pigmentation to it and just make everything a nice smooth surface. And then I'm going to set it all with this lighter shade using a big fluffy brush. Again, that's just going to make a nice even base to work off of. Another thing that's very important is to clean your brushes, and I definitely, as you can see, don't clean my brushes enough. If you're running out the door and you don't have time to actually wash your brushes, use something like this. It's one of these little donut things and you can just wipe off excess powder. For example, on the wrong side, if you will, I still have some leftover pigments from a sparkly shadow that I was using, so that's sort of showing up in the eye look as well. For mascara, this is one I have seen people do this and feel disappointed in a mascara because there are certain techniques and things you can do to really vamp up the volume. So I applied one coat sort of straight to my lashes on the side that's quote unquote wrong, and then on the other side what I'm doing is I'm wiggling the wand back and forth at the root and then going really slowly all the way up to the tips to completely coat the lashes. And I also apply some to the underside of the lashes. If you want, you can do 2 coats. Just make sure you do it relatively quickly because I find that most mascaras tend to clump up and get really icky if you wait a long time between coats. Now onto foundation, and one thing that I've dealt with a lot is my foundation oxidizing on my skin. Today I'm going to be using this one by CoverGirl. It's their Vitalist Elixir, which I think is a fantastic formula if you can find your shade, but for whatever reason on my skin it always oxidizes, which means that it has a sort of orangey shade. It darkens a lot on my skin. Now on the correct side, we are going to first start by just dabbing my skin because some foundations are more sensitive than others, so some you might find oxidize regardless of whether or not you use these tips and tricks. One thing you can do is adding a primer. Again, that's just going to add a sort of barricade between your skin and the natural oils and the foundation. That should make a big difference. I do find that putting on the primer and then putting on the foundation and then dabbing the foundation to get rid of any excess oils does help with some foundations. And then the last tip that I have is just buying one of those whitening foundations. The one that I'm using today is by LA Girl. It's their Pro Coverage HD Illuminating Foundation. But if you don't have access to LA Girl, another good one is by The Body Shop. They have a lightening formula as well. But I use this trick quite often regardless of what foundation I'm using, and it just makes such a difference because I use self-tanner a lot that it just creates this perfect custom color for me. And for this one in particular, for the CoverGirl one, this makes all the difference. Now onto powder. Sometimes we buy a powder and we're excited about it, and then it just looks really cakey and overdone. So the first trick that I have is using a velour puff. I have talked about this a ton, but I honestly think it makes such a difference because it applies it and presses it into the skin. I find I use less and I'm not wasting a ton of product either. When I'm like using a brush, I find so much product gets everywhere and I feel like I'm wasting a ton. And then the other trick I have is applying a setting spray to a beauty blender or a blending sponge. This one's by L'Oreal, and the setting spray I'm using is by Wet n Wild. And then just gently dabbing it over the skin. That's going to help press any of that excess powder into the skin or remove any that is just overpowering, and it's just gonna make your skin look like skin. My next trick is if you have a blush that is too dark for your skin tone and you kind of look clownish. In particular, when I don't have any self-tanner on, I find this is such an issue for me. So two things you can do. One, pretty obvious, is when you tap your brush into it, just sort of tap it on your hand first and then apply it. That's going to eliminate a lot of the extra powder. Or another thing you could do is first tap your brush into some setting powder first and then into the blush, and then you're going to be picking up less pigment. It's going to blend smoothly onto the skin, and it's going to be a little bit lighter as well. Next up is for a highlight that may not work for you, because there are some products out there, whether they're bronzers or blushes or highlights or eyeshadows, and they have this like baked consistency on top that makes them look and feel very unpigmented. But Kathleen, what she did is she scraped off the top layer of the product. If you have any of those baked eyeshadows or blushes or bronzers or highlights or whatever it is, maybe just scraping off the top layer may make a difference in how pigmented it is. Next up is a trick for a brow pomade, or maybe you have an eyebrow gel or something that has started to dry out. It is typical, this is going to happen. It's just the nature of the product. What you can do is you can add in a little bit of a facial oil. I use the Physicians Formula Bright Booster Oil Elixir, and just like the tiniest dab of product into the lid, and then kind of scoop out some of the product and mix it all together. That's going to increase the creaminess of the product, make it easier to apply, and just sort of rejuvenate the entire thing. And lastly, for the lips, some tips and tricks if you're dealing with having a lipstick that is constantly wearing off or it's not applying well. So first of all, on the less than stellar side, you can see that I'm applying it right over top of my lip balm, and it is already obviously very light and glossy. I mean, that's even a look that you can totally go for, and that's a great way to actually dilute a lipstick if you're looking for something that's more natural. But I'm looking for a really strong pigmentation. So the first thing I'm doing is obviously just wiping off the lip balm, and then I'm gonna go in with a lip pencil. And the one that I'm using here today is by L'Oreal. This is their Color Riche Matte Sharpenable Lip Liner. I've talked about this product before. I think it is one of my favorite lip liners. The shade that I'm using is actually more of a red tone than the lipstick. It's infatuated with you. Very rich and gorgeous, and it really stays put on your lips. So even if your lipstick eventually wears off, this is a nice strong base for everything to kind of work off of. So I will apply that. I will put the lipstick on top of that. I will blot, and then what I do is take a single ply of tissue, and then I will use my powder and a brush and sort of dab over that tissue on top of the lips. It's going to really add to the longevity of your lipstick. And you can see I've added a little bit more lipstick on the other side, so it's a little bit more of an even comparison. And I sort of kissed my hand, and you can see that product only came off really on the one side where I haven't done these steps to really help set the product in place. And then here's a close-up of both sides, so you can see one side is very matte. It looks a little powdery and heavy, especially in person, and the color doesn't match. It's a little bit different on camera, I'm finding, than in person. In person, it is much more dark. And then on the other side, the skin looks more like skin. It's alive. You can see the highlight. Everything's blended really nicely, and just overall is a much fresher look. And now I feel like I need to wash off this makeup because I look a little bit crazy. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you have any requests for future videos, leave them in the comment section down below, or thumbs up any comments where you see some video ideas that you guys want to see. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you girls. Mwah!